Hello everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand, internal medicine physician. Welcome to another video. Well, it has happened yet again. Some of us may have naively assumed that with the pandemic over, that we may be hearing the end of these stories of medical censorship by the authorities. But alas, that is not the case. And I suppose this shouldn't really surprise us at all. Things like this have been going on since time immemorial. The authorities, the establishment, are desperate to control information flow. They only want people, their subjects, to hear what they want. They don't want anything that is going to hurt their agenda, i.e. their bottom line. Now, those of us doctors here on this platform have been made aware of a new policy within the last few weeks, and other doctors have talked about this as well. So I won't repeat everything. But in a nutshell, let me share with you what has happened and why I believe that this is going to really hurt patients and the general public. Take a look at this. So this was published across the mainstream media, and I'm going to take this article here from The Hill, which is a political publication, political being the appropriate word. YouTube announces new policies to target medical misinformation. And I'm going to share this with you in particular, which is a statement from the site. In the years since we begun our efforts to make YouTube a destination for high-quality health content, we've learned critical lessons about developing community guidelines in line with local and global health authority guidance on topics that pose serious real-world risks, such as misinformation on the pandemic, reproductive health, harmful substances, and more. And there were other topics listed, including cancer therapy. We're taking what we've learned so far about the most effective ways to tackle medical misinformation to simplify our approach for creators, viewers, and partners. And they talk about the algorithm and how they're going to use 3 categories: prevention, treatment, and denial, to sort the kinds of medical misinformation on the platform. So therein lies the problem. The platform is going to use advice from regional, local, and world authorities as the benchmark for determining what is the truth. Anything that doesn't follow that narrative is misinformation. And I take great issue with this because the history of medicine is a history of sheer stupidity. When you actually look at some of the things that have been done, are still being done, that are not rooted in any real evidence whatsoever, and people just do it because they're told to, you can see that we always have the potential for catastrophes to happen in healthcare. So the fact that this platform is now going to take any videos that don't follow the narrative, the truth, and downrank them. So what that will mean for people is that those videos are more difficult to find. If you do a search for specific conditions or treatments, you will find the establishment narrative. It might be a video from one of the main institutions. People don't particularly like the video, people don't particularly watch the video, but it will be up there first. Whereas in the past, if you did a search and there was a popular video that may not have been following the narrative, but was actually following the truth, people were watching it, people were viewing it, people were commenting on it, you would have found those videos first. And that will no longer be the case. This is a massive, massive fail for anyone who wants to follow the science and actually listen to alternative points of view and consider the fact that the science is never settled by anyone. Science is always changing and we're learning new things, and you have to keep an open mind. But coming back to the history of medicine and the fact that the history of medicine is a history of sheer stupidity and mob-like behavior, and often clamping down on any alternative viewpoints and suppressing the truth for decades, sometimes centuries, let's consider the following. I'm going to share with you some medical tragedies that highlight this point. Firstly, let's consider the thalidomide tragedy in the 1950s to 60s. This was one of the most infamous medical errors. It was a total disaster, the thalidomide disaster, and it saw thalidomide initially marketed as a safe and effective sedative and anti-nausea medication for pregnant women. However, it resulted in severe birth defects in thousands of infants. This tragic event underscored the imperative for more stringent drug testing and regulation. Have we genuinely absorbed its lessons? Now let's go back even further. Historical bloodletting. For centuries, bloodletting was a commonplace medical practice founded on the theory that balancing bodily humors could cure various ailments. People would be cut and then bled, often to death. And despite its ineffectiveness, it was widely employed and often caused harm to patients if it didn't kill them, demonstrating the perils of adhering to unfounded medical beliefs. Doctors for centuries would ridicule anyone who questioned bloodletting. Have we truly internalized these lessons? How about the diagnosis of hysteria? During the 19th century, numerous women were diagnosed with hysteria, a catch-all diagnosis for a wide range of female health issues. Treatments included pelvic massages, lacking medical basis and often causing immense unnecessary patient suffering. Have we truly comprehended the lessons? How about lobotomies, only within the last 100 years? Lobotomy, a surgical procedure involving the removal or damage to parts of the brain, was extensively utilized to treat mental illnesses in the mid-20th century. It resulted in severe and irreversible side effects, underscoring the significance of ethical medical practices and evidence-based mental health treatment. Have we genuinely heeded these lessons? How about tobacco endorsement? Doctors supporting tobacco and smoking, only within the last 50 to 60 years. Many doctors and medical institutions endorsed smoking as a means to alleviate stress or respiratory issues in the 20th century. This endorsement contributed to the widespread use of tobacco, despite accumulating evidence of its harm and eventual acknowledgement of its links to lung cancer and other diseases. Have we genuinely absorbed these lessons? And what about the last couple of decades only, the opioid catastrophe? The role that physicians played in the opioid tragedy that is still ongoing should not be underestimated. They failed to ask questions, believing everything that Big Pharma said about safe and effective treatments for pain. And they also went along with the narrative of pain being the fifth vital sign and must be suppressed with very powerful medications. Hundreds of thousands of people are estimated to have lost their lives in the opioid crisis, and it's still going on today. So these are absolute tragedies that have happened. Think about it. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people have died over the last few centuries, all because the medical establishment wanted to stick to a narrative, because they didn't ask the right questions, because they didn't allow doctors to even be heard who had concerns. And you all know exactly what would have happened with any of the tragedies I just listed had a doctor stepped out of line, had they raised concerns, asked questions. You are spreading misinformation. How dare you? You shouldn't be practicing medicine. That's not allowed. How dare you ask questions? This is what the narrative is. And of course, do you think that any of these scandals are going to be the last in medicine? Is this going to be the end? Absolutely not. Because we have the same people in charge. We have the same mentality at the top, that same mob-like mentality with people at the top who shouldn't be there, to be frank. They have the wrong agendas. They have the wrong motivations, frequently financial, and they're not really about science by any stretch of the imagination. And what makes this even more dangerous today is that, unlike in times gone by, nowadays, these medical establishments can basically totally collude with big technology companies to control the narrative, to suppress any dissent, censor anyone that they don't like. That didn't even used to happen before. However, the truth is always the truth. It can only be suppressed for so long, and those of you who have followed me for some time know one of my favorite phrases. 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. The truth will always come out in the end. Of course it will. And we need to recognize all of these bad players, these bad actors, from individuals to whole institutions who have a vested interest in not wanting the truth to come out and wanting us to continue proceeding down a wrong path. Thanks everyone for listening. Let me know your thoughts down below. Check out my online academy. That link is also down below. Hit the like button if you like this video and the bell button for more similar videos in the future. We will talk again very soon.